All right, good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. I'm Neeraj Shah, and let's take stock of the global news flow first before we move on to our markets. And lots has happened. In that, Joe Biden says that he and McCarthy agreed that the default is off the table, which means that no matter what happens, however bipartisan the deal may be, or partisan the deal may be, there will be a deal for sure. Oil is edges higher as traders track the trade talks to head off the US default. PM Modi visits Australia to hold talks with PM Albanese, and Asian stock futures edge up in shadow of the debt talks. And these are doing so because not that the Dow did really well, but the Nasdaq in particular had a pretty decent outing, 0.3, 0.5% higher. So pretty good showing there. The other cues are also looking positive. Let's just get those up. Dollar index 103, S&P 500 VIX up at 17.21, and the US 10-year yield at 3.71 has actually been edging higher for the past few days. You have to keep in mind both the dollar index and the 10-year yields have actually been edging higher the last few days. The SGX Nifty should come up on your screen next, or at least what the indication is, about 0.11%. But remember, the SGX is not turning out to be the lead indicator of sorts. Yesterday, too, flattish start, but we had a half decent outing in the session. Let's see if today is more of the same or slightly different. So, in light of all of this, what is the trade setup, right? I personally believe that large moves on the index are unlikely, but banking is key to the index recovery for the week. Yesterday, we did well despite banking not doing well because IT was the big one. If you looked at the Sensex movers, for example, it was the five tech stocks which topped the list on the Sensex. Starting with Tech Mahindra, but Infi, TCS, Wipro, HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra, all five were doing extremely well. And keep in mind that the FI holding is still in an underweight stance relative to the index. You just look at what the index weightage is versus what the FI weightage is on the Nifty IT or the IT stocks at large, and they are still underweight. So if they turn around to doing some bit of buying, then that could be very, very interesting. Punishment being meted out to stocks like Siemens or Gland show very little mercy for disappointments. In Siemens' case, it was the selling off the subsidiary at the valuation that they did and corporate governance issues. And I must say, this issue with Siemens keeps on coming every few years. So there's there's probably a reason why that stock, unfortunately, as good as the and competent as the company is, and the Indian management would be or is, it doesn't get the valuations that maybe an ABB gets or some of the other NBA MNC names might be getting. Somehow, uh, once in a while, they come out and do something that displeases the street. I was reading a report about this. Somebody who's looked at the Siemens history for a while. Anyway, choice, be that as it may, it is still a quality player, but yesterday's downtick would show to uh, markets that are not sparing anything which is coming out with something which is dodgy, be it results, be it some actions, what have you. Gland Pharma case in point, just the results and the disappointments thereof. And 17% downtick yesterday after a 20% downtick day before tells you a story or two. Like we discussed yesterday, FI selling, it was too early to call it a change of trend, and it was because FIs did turn net buyers in trade yesterday. So one day of a net sell, and that might have been because of various reasons, but otherwise it's a net buy that continues. Interesting results today, not too many, how do I say, which are uh, uh, index names, but pretty decent set of companies that I'm looking forward to hearing about. So Biocon, I'm looking forward to listening to the management more so because there are analysts who believe that the next 2 years the company would have a very steep CAGR growth in results. Dixon would be interesting. Fortis could be interesting as well in light of what all the other healthcare companies are doing. I'm looking for Dreamfolk Services and trying to see what they could do in light of the fact that other companies in that sector have posted some pretty strong numbers and pretty strong numbers for April as well. And TTK Healthcare could be interesting too, in light of the fact that now it has a company of sorts in the business that it is in. And stocks to watch in the session at 9:15. Well, start off with BPCL, strong performance, revenues above estimates, EBITDA much above estimates, really double of what was the estimated number. Similarly with EBITDA margins, nearly double or actually more than double of what was estimated, as a result of which net profit more than double of what was estimated. Extremely strong showing, I would reckon. The street should be pleased with these numbers. Let's wait and watch how the reaction is. But on the face of it, no matter what the expectations would have been, it's just quite stunning what they have done in the session, in the quarter this time around. So I'll certainly watch out for BPCL in the session today. Shree Cement is the other one. Revenues up 16%, EBITDA down 3%, unfortunately. Margins 17.43 versus estimated 20%. Net profit down 20% at 525. The estimates were 438 crores. So the numbers certainly leave a bit to be desired. Let's wait and watch how it shapes up once the numbers come out, but once the market opens. But yeah, I mean, the numbers for Shree Cement, not the best, you would have to agree. Then I was just looking if there are some brokerage notes for this one. We'll get to that in a moment. Some other stocks which did well. Thangamayil Jewelry, revenues up 26%, EBITDA 180%, EBITDA margin 7.6 versus 3.45, net profit 288% jump at 31 crores. I would reckon this one could be one key performer. Finolex, I'm a bit mixed bag because all the other line items look very, very wobbly. But for the fact that EBITDA margins expanded meaningfully, look at the third line there, 19% versus 16.6%, and versus estimates which were 13.4. So clearly not a great set, and not a great set of numbers per se, but on the margin front, exceptional showing. Maybe the street likes that. Let's wait and watch. PB FinTech, in line with some of its other peers, narrowing down EBITDA loss, net loss. So in that sense, looked okay, but well, let's see. Then Garware Technical Fibers, revenues up 3.98%, EBITDA margin 21% versus 20.59, and net profit up 10% at 59 versus estimates of 49. So marginal beats there for Garware Technical. Then some numbers which to my mind looked wobbly, even though the valuations may be okay, right? Gujarat Alkalis, revenues flattish, but EBITDA down 30%, EBITDA margins cracking from 30.69 to 21.31. Net profit down 67% at 71 crores. So, you know, not looking good. And caustic chloromethane cycle seems to be nearing the end, and the numbers are actually following for Gujarat Alkalis. The point is, on the valuation front, right? It's trading at a TTM PE of some 12 times, and therefore not very expensive. But these numbers should have been better. HEG, the numbers could have been better. But remember, we spoke about this a few days back, that the con call from GrafTech seemed very weak. And therefore, it was little surprised that HEG has done what it has done. There are some marquee buyers which have entered the stock. And the expectation is that the cycle will turn in the next few, whenever it turns. These are not very expensive stocks, and therefore they will do well. But the numbers per se, not looking good. Now, keep in mind, HEG has had a bit of a run up in the last few weeks, and could there be a bit of an unwinding on the back of these numbers? They're not terrible, but they are weak for sure, and very well that could be. So do watch out for this one. But I keep on reminding people that there are some very smart people who entered into HEG, so that is to be certainly kept in mind. Then Sansera, I thought it was a weak set of numbers relative to estimates. So revenues up 7% at 616. That is fine. EBITDA margin looked wobbly, 15.27, estimates for 17.1. Net profit 35 crores, estimates for 46 crores. So not looking that great. They have long-term, the revenue mix guidance has been tweaked by the company. They raised the long-term sales contribution targets from their products, which is XEV and tech agnostic products, from 15% to 20%. So that is probably good. The con call is at 10 a.m. today. So that is something to watch out for Sansera. I'll watch out for that for sure. And then some news flow. ITI got orders worth 3,889 crores. So that is good news for that company. Vedanta, the first interim dividend of 18 rupees per share for FY24 given out. And telecom subscription data, Vodafone continues to lose, Jio, Airtel continue to gain. A very smart money manager tells me that do watch out for the kind of gains that could come into Airtel and Jio once the move to 5G happens, and once it becomes a near duopoly from the looks of it, it could be on their way. Then they raise the tariffs by a little bit. and ARPU shoot up for both of them. Is that the game? Is that the EBITDA move that could come about maybe in FY25? Who knows? But certainly to be watched out for. Some bulk deals to watch out for. Max Healthcare, GQG Partners bought about 75 lakh shares, so watch out for that. Kokuyo Camlin, Equity Intelligence, Porunju Veliat's fund bought 5.4 lakh shares. And matrimony.com, Carnelian Asset Advisors bought about 1.35 lakh shares at 560 a piece. So these are the three bulk deal led names to watch out for. And it's not just me. I think other brokers are also looking at Siemens. So it was a key loser yesterday, of course. It fell more than 8% Monday and more than 12% in the last three sessions. Now, I forgot to give this credit, but it's MK's analysis. They are saying that OI increased by 26%, indicating strong short build-up. The traded quantity was 10 times average. Delivery volumes were 11 times average, signaling high profit booking in the stock. And the 100-day moving average support is still at 3294, which is 100 points lower. So never know, there could be more downside there. So watch out for Siemens. Some brokerage calls. Motilal Oswal has initiated coverage on Kajaria with a buy rating, target price of 1490. JP Morgan has cut the rating on HDFC AMC to underweight, price target of 1580. So keep in mind. I mean, the point being at the broader end of the spectrum, when you see the movement in the Adani Group stocks, you know that the risk-on appetite seems to be back. And it's not just restricted to that group. A bunch of other stocks have done well. But and the news on the inflation front in India are also turning out to be positive. So all of that is constructive. The only question is if the global markets buckle off, then that's a bit of a pickle for our markets. For now, though, it all seems okay. Have I missed anything? Let me just try and see if I can figure out anything else. Yeah, largely in line with what I have mentioned. Like I said, there are a bunch of key, very important numbers today, aside of the ones that I've spoken about. Triveni Engineering could be interesting tomorrow. Global Spirits could be interesting tomorrow. So those are a couple of names that I would watch out for. And yeah, Glenmark Life Sciences, by the way, some newspaper reports say that there's a stake sale and KKR, Blackstone, and PAG are likely to bid. So that might keep that stock excited. Macquarie has a downtick on Zomato, so that is to be watched out for. Like I said, BPCL, Jefferies 2 is constructive, so do watch out for that. Morgan Stanley says overweight with a target price of 390. Have a great day. Viewers, thanks so much for tuning in the Trade Setup. A bunch of conversations, of course, lined up on the platform today. So Atul Kumar Goel, MD and CEO of PNB, interesting conversation there. Gautam Badalia, Chief Strategy Officer of Route Mobile at 10:30. BEL comes in at 12:30 to talk about their numbers. Watch out for HEG. Manish Gulati, Executive Director, and we'll be talking to him about when does he believe the cycle can turn if it does. And of course, Finolex Industries at 2:45 would be interesting as well. We have a conversation with Ganesh Housing at 1 p.m. So that is an interesting conversation to watch out for as well. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup.